In supply chain management, channel members work together. A great example of channel members working together is Walmart and Procter and Gamble. In fact, there are hundreds of Procter and Gamble employees who get up and go to work every day inside of Walmart's corporate headquarters. They are assigned to the Walmart business, and they literally work inside the Walmart facility, even though they are not Walmart employees, they're Procter and Gamble employees, but they interact, they work with the Walmart employees, day in, day out. And so to ease that, they are physically located there at Walmart's headquarters. Now, contrast that with another supplier to Walmart that did not have as good a relationship, and that supplier was Rubbermaid. Rubbermaid has a lot of products that are made with rubberized pellets. The primary component for those is petroleum. And as you probably know, the price of oil fluctuates widely. And Rubbermaid had a tremendous amount of their total sales with Walmart. There's a rule of thumb that you never want more than about a third of all of your sales with one customer. And the reason is if you have any interruptions with that customer, that has traumatic impact on your overall operations. Well, Rubbermaid had close to 50% of their sales with Walmart. The price of oil went up dramatically, which meant that the price of Rubbermaid's products, cost of goods sold, went up dramatically. And so they went to Walmart and told them about a price increase that they were taking due to the high price of oil. Walmart refused to accept the price increase. Rubbermaid didn't back off, and so Walmart threw them out of distribution there. So they were basically out of business with about half of the distribution that they had. Rubbermaid went into a deep tailspin as a result of that. Their financial situation got so precarious that they were ultimately acquired by another company, Newell, and so now they're part of that company, Newell Rubbermaid. It was an example of very, very bad relationship with their customer, in this case, Walmart. In the book, it talked about channel members working together closely in the area of product development and commercialization. And let me go ahead and read from the book for that. This is from chapter 13 of edition 10. So if you've got a different edition, it might not look exactly like this, but it says product development and commercialization. The product development and commercialization process includes the group of activities that facilitate the joint development and marketing of new offerings among a group of supply chain partner firms. In many cases, more than one supply chain entity is responsible for ensuring new product success. Let me give you an example from my past in this area, and it dealt with Costco and a buyer at Costco that was very, very gung ho about a burrito product that was available in a very popular West Coast fast food chain called El Pollo Loco. Now, El Pollo Loco had a very, very strong selling product that they called the BRC burrito, BRC standing for beans, rice, and cheese. So this was a vegetarian burrito. It had beans, rice, and cheese, no meat in it. And this buyer at Costco was very gung ho on this concept of a vegetarian burrito. I was working on new product development at the time as a consultant with a Mexican food company called Reese Foods. Reese Foods is maker of the El Monterey brand of burritos. Also, if you're ever in a convenience store like 7-Eleven, you may see their Tornados, which are on those rollers. But in conjunction with Reese, I was working with Costco on this BRC burrito product. Reese was very, very gung ho about it. Costco was very, very gung ho about it. You'd think that with that level of partnership, this would be an absolute slam dunk success. Well, it wasn't, and the reason is consumers weren't that gung ho on it. So even with strong relationship between the buyer and the seller, there, ultimately it's got to be pleasing to the consumer. Continuing with supply chain management, returns management is important. Now, this enables firms to manage return product efficiently while minimizing returns related cost. That's just one of the issues of the logistical components of the supply chain. So let's go ahead and walk through those. That includes supply management, inventory control, order processing, production, warehousing and materials handling, and transportation. Let's start with inventory control. You know what inventory is. Inventory is stuff in warehouses stacked up. But let me give you a different definition of inventory. Inventory is the cost of imperfect information. Inventory is the cost of imperfect information. If you had perfect information, you wouldn't have a whole bunch of stuff stacked in the warehouse because you'd get things just in time and move them out just in time. And that's the goal of inventory control, to minimize inventory carrying costs while also minimizing stockouts. Well, that's a precarious balancing act, because the less perfect your information is, the more likely you are to go out of stock on something. So in order to not go out of stock on something, you carry more inventory. That's this balancing act. Most companies do carry inventory as a sort of insurance policy against stockouts. This is often called safety stocks. But by using sophisticated tools, you can try to keep that inventory down. A couple of tools for managing inventory include materials requirement planning, MRP, using sophisticated software solutions to help you predict what inventory levels need be, and then automatic replenishment programs that automatically trigger replacement once inventory reaches a certain level. This whole system is called order processing, is becoming more automated through the use of computer technology known as EDI, electronic data interchange, which we talked about earlier. A couple of other things. Materials handling system. Now, a materials handling system is a method of moving inventory into, within, and out of the warehouse. Next topic is transportation, and there are historically 5 major modes of transportation, and those modes of transportation are air, water, pipe, truck, and rail. Air, water, pipe, truck, and rail. I wanted to get some information about the relative volumes of that. So remember, I talked about getting information from the government. I went to the Department of Transportation, the Bureau of Transportation Statistics, and they've got lots and lots and lots of freight data and statistics. I went and got the value of shipments by different transportation modes, and you can see the modes there: truck, rail, water, and so on. What do you think the number one mode of transportation is? Remember, our 4 modes of transportation are 5 modes are air, water, pipe. Pipe is pipeline, truck, and rail. What do you think the number one, the most value in terms of dollar value of goods that are transported? You probably got it. It's truck. Truck is the number one method. Now, the next method, this is a little bit tricky. Remember, our 5 modes are air, water, pipe, truck, rail. Not everything goes from beginning to end on the same mode. Sometimes it starts with one and then gets transferred onto another. That's called intermodal, more than one mode. And that's the second biggest, intermodal transportation. Oftentimes things will go part of the way by water, then part of the way by rail, and then part of the way by truck. That's the most common type of intermodal transportation. The next type of transportation in terms of the dollar value is another intermodal, and that is air and truck. Air, of course, is via the airlines, and not necessarily the traditional airlines, but more the freight airlines, DHL, UPS, FedEx. The next up is pipeline. Pipeline is a very, very unique distribution channel. Oil largely goes through pipelines. The next transportation mode is rail. Now, this is dedicated rail, so it goes from a rail siding from the point of origin to a rail siding at the point of destination. Rail that's completely point-to-point rail is not that common, because a lot of times people don't have rail sidings. It will often go quite a large percent of the way via rail, but it will often then be offloaded onto a truck for final shipping. The least commonly used transportation all by itself is water. Of course, water is very, very important part of intermodal transportation. Water then to a truck or water to a rail car. Now, those are the 5 traditional modes of transportation: air, water, pipe, truck, rail. But of course, there is a very, very important new mode of transportation, and that new mode of transportation is the internet. Because if things can be digitized, of course, they can be transported, delivered electronically via the internet. That is true for content like books and magazines. Of course, that is true for digital content for music. And of course, that is true for digital content in the area of entertainment, movies, television shows, and so on. So, no doubt about it, the internet is definitely an important mode of transportation. If the goods can be digitized, they can be transported via the internet. Just a couple of trends in supply chain management. Because of the importance of logistics functions, there have sprung up a number of specialty logistics companies, and so some people are outsourcing their logistics functions to these 3PL, third-party logistics companies. Of course, more and more electronic distribution of anything that can be digitized. What would be an example of a 3PL company? Well, that would be DHL. DHL does a lot of logistics for companies that choose to outsource their logistics to DHL. Just one of many firms in that business. Order processing. Order processing is the system for managing orders into the uh, uh,